problems to how we can improve the system, so to speak. So how
did
do
you get
think...
to ask all your questions?
I was actually wondering one
just
more
out of
thing.
fairness, because we talked for 25 minutes to answer questions.
I know my girlfriend and I have been kind of talking. She tells me a lot about kind of Catholicism in actually Germany and how if you actually go to the Vatican and talk to the Pope, it's not an issue. Gay marriage and stuff like that is not an issue, but in the United States it is. So I'm just wondering if that is such an old religion that originated in Europe or something to that effect, why is it such a big deal in the United States? I mean, why is it that we...
Specifically with Catholicism?
Catholicism, but religion in general, because it's a big deal here, but it's not even talked about in Europe. And it's not very prevalent, but it's not an issue at all. Why do you feel that there's such a difference between, I guess, Europe or the Middle East and the United States?
Well, we'd have to do an analysis of like what European countries have rights for LGBT people, which I don't have at the top of my head.
So I have a friend who lives in Germany right now and is here just visiting Tucson and is working, and says that Western Europe is very progressive as far as gay marriage, and but then if you get to Eastern Europe, then you're not. It's it's a different climate. So there's I don't know, but the thing is like, so I've lost the thought. So, yeah.
But I think you'd have to do a comparison between what political rights people are given and then how that interfaces with the religious institutions. And we're talking about like dozens of countries. We can't just say like Europe because you know what I'm saying. So
right.
I don't know. That feels like a very broad
but apparently
question.
Most European countries, it could just be West Side, but according to what I know, I guess most parts of Europe are completely fine with it politically and religiously. So I'm wondering why the United States
those things are related.
Huh?
Well, I think that if we pass gay marriage here, then that will impact religious institutions. And there's still be some religions that won't support it, but like a lot will change when we are afforded those rights. People will come along. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Along with religion, just really quick, and then we can go on to how we can make it better, because obviously that's both important to both our groups. What was your religion when you had realized that you were gay or lesbian, and did that affect you and your family? Not personally, because like that's really personal, but like, did it question your religion a lot, depending on like how?
I'm not a super religious person. I was raised in a Methodist household, so I didn't have to grapple with like, does God love me or not? I consider myself a spiritual person, and I meditate, and there are like spiritual practices that I engage in because I'm interested in being a good person, which I think is what most faiths are about, is helping people be good people. Right. But I didn't have to. I've supported people through the struggle to figure out one's faith and reconcile that with their identity. That's
like one of the biggest thing is like, is it moral, is it not, and what religions does it affect? So
right.
Guys, I don't want to cut you too short, but you've got about 8 minutes left in the hour, and probably in about 3 minutes, this hallway is going to start filling up with people and get really super loud because there's a big lecture class right there. So I just don't want you to be like bombarded.
So we should answer the like what makes that.
So I'll let you just have a couple more minutes. Just want to let you.
I just wanted to ask one more question. You guys, is getting back to solutions. Like, what can we do about it? To help improve it in schools, and what advice would you give to individuals who are, like you said, you give advice to them?
So I mean, LGBT inclusive policies in schools. So start with a state level enumerated anti-bullying policy. That and I mean, a federal policy would be amazing because then it would then all the states would be on the same page. Then we could have a model policy at the and then every school could be expected to do the same thing.
Right.
So then, but with that would need to come teacher training. Training for the students. The policy can't exist without students actually knowing about it.
Right.
But but also and inclusive curriculum. And incorporate the LGBT community into sex education, into history classes. Talk about when you're talking about the civil rights movement, you can talk about what's happening with the gay rights movement. Right. When you're talking about key important figures, you can talk about Harvey Milk, you can talk about the Stonewall riots. I mean, you can talk about gay authors, you can talk about, there are things, there are ways to incorporate LGBT like curriculum into the general school curriculum that need to be considered. So and so I mean those two things are really important issues right now, and so those two, I mean that's like the big point of our research that we're doing over in family studies is we're looking at those things and how those things and the outcomes that those have on youth and not just LGBT youth, like these anti-bullying policies and this inclusive curriculum, I mean, impacts all youth at the school, more school safety, better academic outcomes, all those things. So, and then I mean, and the other thing is like I don't know, religion and politics are always going to like intermesh, but at the same time, like when religious messages are used to oppress like the LGBT community, like it's painful personally to watch. So like I mean rights for the LGBT community that are equivalent to all their peers in the workplace, for marriage, for in discrimination legislation. And I mean I think that's all really important.
And then support for gay straight alliances in schools. The research has absolutely shown that schools that have a GSA or a gay straight alliance, that the LGBT students in those schools feel a lot safer, that there's less homophobic remarks made and all kinds of stuff. So. Right. Do you have the final question?
That was the last question.
Okay.
All right.
I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We won't use